I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Well, hello there. Hi, Jocelyn. First one here is Jocelyn. So yay. Glad you're here, Jocelyn. Good to see you. I am kind of excited about today's show because, as I was thinking, okay, so what are we doing today and all of that, I started to think about how we have certain things that we do. Hi, Linda. We have certain things that we do every week as a company. There's certain things that we do daily as a company as well. But one of the things that we do is we kind of anchor our weeks with a quote, because I find quotes to be profound. Mostly, good ones, obviously. I find quotes to really move the needle in my own life. And I know they have in others. They go into my journals. I have quote decks. Quote, quote, quote everywhere. But in 2000, I'm going to say it was 2015, one in particular just caused just an audible, like, oh, I get it type of a thing. Did I prime the pump on that? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm going to take that quote apart for you, and we're going to talk about why it is the profound quote that it is, how it affected me, how I believe it can affect you, especially if you understand the science behind everything behind there. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, does that sound like fun? I hope you are looking forward to that as much as I am. Speaking of quotes, I'm going to give it to you right off the bat. All science was magic till proven. Well, yeah. Back in the olden days, they thought, when Newton was talking about gravity, do you know he was not burned at the stake. No, they didn't do that to men. They did that to women. But they thought there was a little bit something off with Sir Isaac Newton because of gravity. All these things that have since become standards in our science were at one time looked at as like, something's a little off with you. You're a witch. You're a this. You're a that. Gravity isn't magic. It's science. So keep that in mind when you're thinking of things and people start talking about stuff that sounds a little woo-woo to you. Might just be science that hasn't been fully developed yet. Okay? Catherine in the house. Catherine's here. So I really like that. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about is, like, last night we just, we've been doing master classes on nutrition. And I love these classes because especially we've got 7 of them, and they all connect everything all entirely together. And the reason I love to do these types of things and have these types of classes is because I believe truly that when we understand something thoroughly and understand the origins of why it is that we're doing the things that we're doing, and we understand how our body works and all the other things that go with it, then we can make better decisions and we can see ourselves in a different light, and we can understand the mistakes that we make or the steps that we're not taking and how to fill in those blanks. Hello, my friend Jeanette. It's so good to see you. She's in between time zones. So see, speaking of science, she's out there floating somewhere. If you haven't registered for the Nutrition and Masterclass, you just get one, do onesie twosie if you want to, or you can get the whole thing at savingdinner.com/nutrition. And the other thing is they're on Crowdcast, and it gives you an opportunity to go back and to relook at something and revisit something as you need to. I love talking about nutrition, and I love how impactful it is, and I love empowering women especially to be these types of women who take their nutrition seriously and are able to apply these methods to their lives because of it. So that's that. Now, next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, I'm doing a new cooking workshop. This is an unusual one, but I think it's foundational and important, and it's how to cook without a recipe. And what I'm going to do is fling open my refrigerator doors and say, this is what I have here, right? This is what I have here in my refrigerator. This is what I'm going to cook. And I'm going to show you and teach you how to stock a pantry, refrigerator, and a freezer so that you can at any time create anything that you want. I'm serious. I'm going to show you how to do sauces from without recipes. I'm going to show you how to make this happen. And it's fun because it's sort of like, intuitive cooking. I'll give you lists and pantry lists and, just different types of lists. And of course, well, hello there, Chris. Good to have you here. And thank you, Jeanette, for that. So good to have you here. But the thing that I like about this so much is I've been doing this for years. And I had a friend of mine who was over. She said, "I can't believe you just did this, and this, and made that. How do you do that?" Cheers. Mother hen's in the house. She said, "How do you do that?" I said, "I'll tell you what, this is what it is. If you have these certain standards in your house, you can do it at any time. And here's the basic things that you need to know." Well, that's what this cooking class is all about. It's getting you past the recipe and to this place of intuitive knowing and making your recipes happen. It's going to be really cool. I'm going to give you as much as I possibly can in an hour, and it'll be fun. It will be informative. It will give you aha moments. And I'm going to get some delicious dinner out of that at the end. So there. Anyway, if you can stand it, just come. It's going to be really fun. Nancy, I hope you could come to this one because this one this one is pulling out everything that you've ever done and thought of, and it's connecting the dots and making your cooking intuitive. How about that? All right. Anyway, I'm just wanted to let you know this is available to you, and it is coming not this Wednesday, not tomorrow, but the following Wednesday at savingdinner.com/cook. So I hope to see you there. It's going to be fun. I think, what are we starting at 5 o'clock Eastern? So it'll, same thing. Caroline will be there, and she will be helping and filming and probably also critiquing me. You know how she is. Friendly banter, as it were. Also, yeah, we do have Recreate Your Life. Recreate Your Life is, by the way, our last class for Q2 is tonight. If you're in it, then show up. Don't forget to show up because we're doing The Gift, 12 Lessons to Save Your Life. This is Edith Edgar's book. This is the book we're doing tonight. Mind-blowing book. This woman survived the Holocaust. And then the third quarter, though, is available. You can go get that at savingdinner.com/recreate. Just click on Recreate and boom, all the dates are there. Everything's there. The books are there. And this is one way to kind of up-level your education and get together with women that you love, right? Is that fun? I like that. Let's get to it. Okay. Let's get to it. All right. So I teased this out a little bit for you at the very beginning and told you that this is one of the most profound quotes ever in my life. I wrote it down in my journal. I wrote it in big, huge font and printed it out and had it staring across from me and in my office for years. And it was the kind of thing that I would think about when I would find myself getting off track with my thinking, find myself not doing the things that I wanted to do and instead defaulting to, quick and easy dopamine hits like scrolling through my phone or whatever. I would look at that quote because it changed how I thought about things. Hi, Denise. And the quote is this: what you focus on grows. What you think about expands, and what you dwell upon becomes your destiny. Now, that's Robin Sharma, and he wrote The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Big book. He's written a few other books. He has a 5 a.m. club kind of a situation as well. I've met him a few times, had conversations with him. Definitely acquaintance, not a friend. Very interesting man, Canadian, and just brilliant. I will tell you that. Just brilliant. I've seen him speak too, just incredible. But this is his quote, and I come back to it again and again and again. There's three parts to it, and each one of them is deliberate. Each one is a needle mover, and each one, if you take seriously, will directly influence your life and change it. Can't help it. You cannot help it, and it flows beautifully. There's so many things that I could say about this quote because I love it so much, and because it has had that kind of impact in my life. So I want to unpack it, and once you get it, I'm talking really get it. It's like somebody handing you the keys to your own mindset and saying, "Here it is. Here's the key to your mindset, your energy. Here's the keys to your future." And that's how incredible this is. My friend Jane is here. Hello, Jane. It's good to have you here. Okay, so number one, what you focus on grows. This is how we come to terms, shall we say, or come eyeball to eyeball, if there was such a thing, on your brain's reticular activating system. How many times have we talked about that? It's good to get a little into the nerd zone on this because the reticular activating system is an actual bundle of nerves inside of your head, and it's at the base of your brainstem. Did you know that? And it filters out all of the information coming in based on what you are thinking about, based on what you are speaking about. Your brain determines what's important because if you are saying something over and over again, your brain is saying, "Gotcha, that's important." If you're thinking about it over and over again, your brain says, "Got you, this is important." Now, understand, your brain does not have the filtration system to say, "This is good, this is bad, this is evil, this is something you don't want to think about, this is something, is this really something, is this really in your code of ethics?" No, not at all. Your brain is just going to take your words and your thoughts on face value. Now, your amygdala, on the other hand, is going to go, danger, danger, oh, red alert, blah, blah, blah. We know about the amygdala, fear center of the brain. But what we're talking about here is the reticular activating system because of this quote. What you focus on grows. And that's what we need to do. So if you are saying, and I'm going to tell you this based on my own experience, okay? It's 90 degrees, or it feels like it's 150 degrees out, playing pickleball, sweat, 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 hot, hot, hot. I'm hungry, blah, blah, blah. And I keep saying, "I'm so exhausted. I'm so hungry. I don't have anything left in me, blah, blah." I keep saying that. How do you think I performed? How do you think I did for the rest of that game? It was toward the end, yes, granted, and I was, blah, 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 running out of steam. But how do you think I did? I did so poorly, and I couldn't wait to get off there and all of that. I reinforced all of this because what I was focusing on was growing. I was focusing on my exhaustion. I was focusing on that I was hungry. I was focusing on I just wanted to get off of there and just blah, blah, blah. I could have focused on this is the last game. I need to focus on what I'm doing. I can get through this. I know how to do this. We can win this game. There's a whole different set of outcomes based on what it is that you're focusing on. So when we are reinforcing this idea, "I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm too old, I can't do this, I'm overwhelmed," when we constantly are saying these different things, our brain is saying, "Gotcha, I'm going to do what you say you are about." And if we're thinking it, same thing, and we're double reinforcing it. So the magic works the other way, like I said, and it will help us to pull out the possibility if we only think that way. My friend Lynn is also here today. Hi, Lynn. So, how about this? You're going through a rough time. It's garbage. It's crap. You've got, a crummy relationship over here. You've got a horrible dead end job over there. You've got, a nasty, mean neighbor, and like go on, and the dog bit you down the street. What if instead of getting all on that and then putting all of your energy into recanting all the stories about what is wrong, you say instead, you know, it's this is all of this over here is happening, but I'm really focused right now on the gratitude that I have for this cute little house that I live in, for this sweet dog that's mine and doesn't bite people on the ankles, for the progress that I'm making on finding a new job and working on these skills, for the strength I'm picking up at the gym, and the opportunity that just seems to find me. What do you think the outcomes are? When your brain starts filtering for that, that's what's going to be showing up in your world. It's almost like you're manifesting it, right? Kathy's right. Gratitude. Gratitude's amazing. Gratitude helps us. And, we can't feel sorry for ourselves when we have gratitude. We can't be sad sacks when we have gratitude. It can lift us up out of the dumps. And, it's like a radio station. You're sitting there and you remember those olden days where we had the little knobs and we had to like tune it in like that? Same idea. It's the same blasted idea. Get tuned into the frequency of what it is that you want to listen to. If you hate country music, you're going to change the channel, aren't you? So the lesson in all of this is that you're not just being positive, by doing all of this, you are literally rewiring your brain to prioritize what actually matters to you. And that is where your energy is going. That is where your energy is going. And that's what your brain, and also understand this, your brain sucks down so much energy. It is it is the number one thing that's just all the energy that you dump onto it, it's taking it and it's using it for thinking and for doing all the things that your body does and all the rest of it. So if your brain needs all of this energy and you're giving all the energy to the negative, then you're doubling down with your brain, you know? Because you can't, there's only so much energy in that little basket of your life that you can expend. So if it's being expended to something that's just awful, you're going to get more of the same because your brain's going to make sure that it's filtered out and that's your experience. you know I know you know this, but this is so important because if you want the life that you want and you want the life that matters, if you want to live in full bloom, we just have to get to this very basic understanding that what we focus on 100% is going to grow. That's what happens. Number two is what you think about expanse. This is thought loops. We've talked about these as well. I think thought loops are very interesting. And in my mind's eye, I always see something that looks sort of like a Ferris wheel. Like, okay, here we go again. We start with this thought, this is what I'm going to do today. And then we put it off. And, so let's start at 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, I'm going to get up. I'm going to get all of these things done today. By 10 o'clock, we're still doom scrolling. By 11 o'clock, oh no, I got to go pick up such and such. By 12:30, everything starts to go south and south and south and south because what we're thinking about is expanding. And the expansion of this thought loop is that if we give our thoughts away to something else, like doom scrolling, And we have these repeated thoughts. This is the science now. Repeated thoughts are going to create those neural pathways, which then reinforce what's going on. So the intention of, oh, 9 o'clock, I'm going to start doing this, and then getting caught in the doom scrolling or whatever brings us to this whole loop of things that don't happen, and then how we're thinking about ourselves. And this neuroplasticity, though, that we're talking about is our brain's ability to actually change the structure, actually give you a different experience based on what it is that you want. But if you keep going down that same trail, you're going to have a well-worn path down that trail. That's what it is. The more you walk it, the more defined it becomes, the easier it is to just slide down there. And this is one of the reasons why, I make this rule. I just don't even touch my phone until after I've done these certain things because I don't want to get stuck on that loop. I don't want that kind of thought loop in my mind. I want my thought loop to be controlled by me and not an experience of trying to go for a dopamine hit. Does that make sense? So, what we need to do then is we need to take a look at this. If you are constantly saying, I am just no good with money, your experience will come into your life because your brain is filtering it out that you are absolutely, you are speaking the truth. You are no good with money. If you keep saying, I'm just too old to start over, well, guess what? You will get everything that you are saying in your life evidence to support that statement because that's what your brain is filtering out. And the same thing, I never have any energy. I never have enough energy. I'm always tired. Same idea. So you're deepening that groove that keeps these beliefs all on repeat, you know? And it's like keep pressing that same thing. You remember when you were a kid and you were like with the cassette player and you kept listening over and over to that or the CD or whatever it is, but we listened over and over and over again. But we can catch those thoughts, we can reframe them, and we can replace them with the words that are actually going to do something for us. For example, um, I'm learning to manage my money better. This season is the perfect time for reinvention, right? I take steps every day to feel strong and to feel energized. All of these not only are these, better things that we say, but you see what they do? They open the door to possibility, and then it gives your brain an opportunity to start looking for all of this. It start looking for ways that you can manage your money better. It start looking for ways that you could reinvent yourself, and suddenly you're going to be seeing things left, right, and center. Oh my gosh, what a great idea! I could do that. Or you see that, you know what, I can take steps to be a little bit more energetic. Maybe you're in my nutrition series class and you're saying, yes, this all applies to me, and I can have more energy simply by doing X, Y, and Z, living by the Target Trifecta plate, and here are some things that I need to do. Isn't that interesting how all of that comes together? Because your brain will build those grooves if you give it something else to think about. So we don't want to be going and saying, well, I don't want to be thinking about that. That's so negative. Give it something to think about. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does your brain. Your brain wants to, if you're going to take something away, replace it with something. That's it. And replace it with something that's good and positive and not pie in the sky, crazy, this is a, you know, I'm going to be a prima ballerina in the New York City Ballet, at 67. That's kind of bonkers. How about instead, I am going to start taking ballet again. I've signed up for these classes and, you know, I'm going to do it. This is what I want to do. This is how I see myself. This is what I love, the movement of X, Y, and Z, all of that. Because the lesson here, and this is the important part, is what you think about is what you believe, right? That becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes who you are. And I want you to believe in yourself. And we can't believe in ourselves if we're thinking all of this garbage stuff. We have to get out of that thought loop and start feeding a different thought loop. Look at your thought loops and look at the place that you're falling down. Look at the place where you get caught. I'm not saying you're doom scrolling or Netflix binging or any of that stuff, but there's somewhere, if you're stuck, there's somewhere in that thought loop that's pulling you down. That's the part that needs a little analytic time from you. And it's also the time where you can start readjusting it and rephrasing what it is that you want so you don't get stuck there. Number 3 is what you dwell upon becomes your destiny. And I say this one's no joke because it is the truth. If you decide that you want something badly enough and you see it, you believe it, you have it in your mind's eye, it's on a vision board, you journal about it, you talk about it, you feel it, somehow, some way, you will start to see and get evidence to support that this is something that you can do. I am living proof of this. I have the house that I wanted on the water, in the lake, etc. I wanted to write a New York Times best-selling book. That happened. There's a million and one things. I told you about, just finally making the decision that I'm going to stop doing supplements. A phenomenal company stepped up the next day and said to me, "We want you to help us with our supplements." What do you think that is? Dwelling upon what it is that you want, not what you don't want, will become your destiny. If this is the thing that you want, your dominant thoughts are going to become your life. Your dominant thoughts are not just thoughts, and we don't just shrug them off. They become your emotions, right? And your emotions then become your habits, and then that becomes your identity. And your identity is the thing that it absolutely 100 predicts and takes you on your life's trajectory. It does. It does 100%. This is called in psychological circles cognitive priming. And this is because you create a lens in which you see your life. This is how you see your life. This is the way you see your life through this particular lens. It's how you interpret everything. It's why some people see something and interpret it completely different than you do. And you're looking at it and going, how could you possibly see it any other way? Their lens is different. Their lens is different. And if your lens is tuned to fear, to lack, victimhood, trauma, your decisions are going to be made from that place. And it's all real low vibe, by the way. And it's not to say that nobody's been traumatized or victimized. And it's not to say that you don't have a right to be fearful or that lack isn't, a concrete thing that's happening in your life, but it doesn't need to be completely 100% focused on. So if we tune in instead to courage and creativity and self-trust, we show up completely different. And lest you think, I always say this, but this is the God honest truth. Unless you think that that courage is something that only a few lucky souls have, it's simply not true. Courage is an actual skill. You know what courage is? It's just saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it anyway. That's courage. You know what, that looks hard. That looks a little bit intimidating, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm just going to show up anyway. I'm just going to raise my hand and say it anyway. That's courage. And the creativity that comes from the courage, I mean, they feed each other. And then that self-trust absolutely morphs into confidence later, right? So if we understand this, then we understand that our destiny is not created by fate or determined by fate, whatever that is. It's determined by the thoughts that you let run the show in your life. So here's the thing. Don't let unexamined thoughts run your show and narrate your future and just run, like wild dogs on the prairie. Bring them all in. This is your life, your yard. Fence them and choose the ones that align with the life that you want, that you desire. That's it. And it changes absolutely everything. The thing that I noticed as I used this quote so much and just started really applying it hard in my life was that it brought me out of a place where I felt like life was happening to me, and it brought me to a place where I felt like I was able to affect the things that I wanted to happen in my life instead. Does that make sense? It is unbelievable what happens when you do that. You can create anything out of that. You know, when I created Saving Dinner, for example, well, way back then it was Menu Mailer on the internet. When I created that, that was out of nothing, and it was just an idea, and it was just something that took root that I took and decided, what if? And can you imagine? And then suddenly, this has been my career, my whole entire pretty much adult life. It's been it because I allowed it to grow and I gave it oxygen instead of the naysayers who said, no, don't do that. Go and get a job and, learn to be an accountant at H&R Block. Yeah, nobody wants me doing that. Not talented enough for that. Thank you very much. So here I am. This is what this is all about, you know? So this quote hit me, of course, in a season in my life where things were just unraveling, everything was going south, you know? I had a big shakeup in my business. I don't know how many of you know this, but I had our software I was trying to get at a professional level. And I had a lot of people in the health space who I was doing kind of a white label service, creating recipes for them and all of that. The problem that I had was that the software company that was developing this for me, they didn't do a very good job and they charged me tons of money. And so I had to let it all go. I had the guy who was working for me, I had to let them go. I had investors in this whole thing, and the whole thing just went south. And I was shaken to my core. I had the bank calling me because I had a line of credit and that I couldn't pay on because of all the stuff that I was trying to make happen. I was thinking big. I had this idea, but it was beyond my control because I was not the one creating the software. I had all these people who were doing it for me, and I wasn't sure. I couldn't go in there and check their work. I just had to have faith that it was getting done. And what it was doing was bankrupting me, you know? So I finally, after all of that and crying in the parking lot, and at the grocery store, talking to my banker and all of this, I finally got to this point of just absolute bare minimum bones of, well, what am I going to do? I've got this disaster over here. I mean, Saving Dinner is still going and all of that. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to focus on what works. I'm going to focus on Saving Dinner. I'm going to focus on reinvention. I'm going to focus on reinventing myself because I had to pick myself up from that and just say, that's a disaster. It didn't work. It could have, maybe if I started it right now, it would have because, software is so much better 10 years later. But I realized I didn't want any more stress. I didn't want any more spinning my wheels. I didn't want any more debt. I needed to let go of something that wasn't working. And I needed to hold on and start being with the things that were working. And you know what? I started getting the things that were working and letting all the people go that I had to let go because I couldn't pay them, and being able to rearrange what I paid back every single last dime, by the way, to the bank and to the investors, paid it all back. It took me forever. I worked hard to do it, but I focused on the things that were important, the things that worked. I flipped the script on myself. I started saying, you know what? What do I want in my life? I want vibrancy. I want I don't want a job. I want a career. I want to speak positively into women's lives. I don't want to just cook another chicken breast. You've heard me say that before, but I want meaningful connection, not just at Saving Dinner, but with my audience as well. With everybody, like I know you that are all here, most of you. I know all of you. I know your faces, I know your voices, I know what you're about. That's what I want. I want intentionality in my life. That became my focus. This quote saved my life. And it saved me from thinking I'm just worthless, I can't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And it also saved me from thinking, I should just give up and go get a job at H&R Block. Maybe I just can't do this. It saved me. It said to me, you can do this. You can pull yourself up. It's not going to happen instantly. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you believe and if you start all of these things from the very, very beginning, things start to change. And they did in a big way. So here's some takeaways that you can use today. Okay. Number one is name what you're focusing on. This is important. When you're training your reticular activating system, and you are, you want it to seek out what it is that you want it to seek out. So is it seeking out negativity, or is it seeking out positivity, opportunity, possibility? You have the power to do that. You are not at the whim of your brain. You can control your brain by understanding how it works. That's why it's so important. Thank you, Lynn and Nancy. So sweet. Thank you. Number two is interrupt and rewire. At any point, we all do this. I've shared with you just recently, not so long ago, where I said something really negative to myself, but it stood out because it's not usual. So if your usual is all that negativity, it's just time, it's going to cost you a lot of energy to keep interrupting it so that you can rewire it, you know? And just prepare for it. Just say, you know what, we're going to buckle down because I'm not doing this anymore. I am not going to write the script that looks like that. It's going to look the way I want it to. It's going to look like a house on the water. It's going to look like all these things that I have written in my and posted on my vision board. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to take some work, you know? And when you catch yourself, just say, "Oh, hold the phone. Wait a minute. That's not the direction I'm headed. I'm going here. That's my path, right? That's my path. And this is the reason why. This is who I am. Your identity is the thing that is going to propel you forward every single time." And use your visual cues. Use your vision board. Use sticky notes. Use 3x5 cards. I don't care. Use your journal. Journals are just like, it's like an intentional rewire right to your brain. That thumb and an opposing finger, as you write, it's going straight to your brain as you do it. That's why I always say use your journal and don't do it on a keyboard, because you don't have the impact that it has on your brain when you do it, when you write it out. Keep your focus visible, right? Keep it in front of you. It's like going out and buying a car. You keep that little car on your vision board and you're going, yeah, that's the car I'm going to get. And you see it all over the road. You have trained your reticular activating system. Do this for the rest of your life. It's not just about a car. It's about your life. And then feed your mind good stuff. This is why we have Recreate Your Life. Recreate Your Life is a book club, but it's all about understanding the whole of who you are, the synergistic wonderfulness of you as a woman. Heart, mind, body, soul. Feed them all, not just one, not just two, all of them. And watch how that balance makes you feel whole and empowered. It's everything. And it's critical and it's important. And it was in that time that I figured it out, that I was only focused on one thing or only focused on another thing over here. When I saw that my whole life had way more to do than that, just that one room. And if you know the quote about the rooms, you know what I'm talking about. Things changed. I changed. I was balanced. I was more peaceful. And I know you will be too. And then the last thing is speak it out loud. Okay? What you say programs your subconscious. So talk like the person you're becoming. I am I am a woman who is becoming the best version of herself every single day. How do you think that's going to set up your day? How do you think that's going to make you feel about who you are and about what it is that you're about? Is that you're going to say that and then just go sink into the couch, turn on Netflix and doom scroll? Of course not. If you're becoming the very best version of yourself, she's not sitting on a couch, right? She's looking at her life, heart, mind, body, and soul, and she's saying, how do I live in full bloom? What speaks to me? Well, I will tell you, your brain is listening and your future's listening too. That's what this is all about. And so is your nervous system. Your nervous system's reacting to all of this. Your mood is reacting to this, your hormones, your motivation. So I want you to speak powerfully. I want you to focus intentionally. I want you to dwell deliberately on the things that you want in your life. Because to me, to everyone, your destiny, you are writing it every single day. You are. And it's your focus that is holding the pen or pencil, if you will. So again, you want a powerful quote? Write this one down. Put it in your journal and just absolutely meditate on it. What you focus on grows. What you think about expands. And what you dwell upon determines your destiny, because it does. All right. Boy, I went long today. Thank you all. Catherine, I'm the goat, says I'm the goat. Thank you all for showing up today. I really appreciate it. If you're part of Recreate Your Life, speaking of, tonight is the night we're doing The Gift tonight. I'm excited about that book. And if you missed any of the announcements, of course, they're at savingdinner.com/announcements. I hope to see you in cooking class, though, because this is going to be really fun. I've got a lot planned for it. And I just look forward to seeing you all. Catherine, thank you for being here. Peace be with you all. Thanks. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.